Hey, what's up, everybody? It's Kevin here from the Social Nostra. I'm joined by Chuck Sway. What's up, my man?
Yo, what up? Thanks for having me again.
Hey, man, I was this weekend we're having a kind of a group show, if you will. All of our different podcast hosts are giving their takes on the conference championships. Since all of us are definitely into, manly things and sports and things like that, I think it'd be a lot of fun just to kind of everybody give their take and talk about all the different things that happened this last week. What have you guys been up to with the Deep Shot podcast lately?
Oh, we have been ecstatic with the Bills' success. As you can see, I got the Bills hat on. You can see in the back right here, the signed Josh Allen helmet. And then in probably pretty low detail right here, we have a Josh Allen little poster and then a Funko Pop. So yeah, we are absolutely loving it. It's actually, I don't know if we want to start with the Bills, but I mean, with their success, we're every week we're ecstatic.
Oh, I mean, you guys haven't been in the playoff this far into the playoffs since what, the mid 90s or something like crazy?
Since before I breathed the air in this world.
No, wow, dude. Kelly and all them, right? Back in the day. Well, it's good. It's fun to be part of the Bills nation right now. Jedi on the Paparazzi podcast on our network is a big, humongous Bills fan as well. His wife's from that part of the world. And anyways, it's a lot of fun. So anyway, what I want to do today, man, is just go through kind of all the games and to where we're at today. You mentioned it. Let's just start with like the divisional stuff. Like, what did you think about like the Ravens and the Bills? I mean, that game actually kind of surprised me,
Yeah, I mean, it was the win that was the big factor. It was, gusts of 30 miles an hour out there in Buffalo. And yeah, I mean, you would expect you have Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson, two very electrifying and young quarterbacks. And you would think that this was going to be a head-to-head. Ball's going to go deep in the air and get caught and a lot of touchdowns being scored. And frankly, it's not what happened because of the wind. I mean, you see Josh Allen and his arm strength just trying to huck a ball downfield and the wind just caught it and didn't go where it was supposed to go. So yeah, the Bills did walk out of there with a win due to a couple factors. But one is their defense was able to handle Lamar Jackson. And then, the injury bug, and Lamar Jackson actually went down with a concussion after bonking his head. So that was a big factor to get them out of the game. But Justin Tucker, the Ravens kicker, who is pretty much Mr. Automatic when it comes to kicking field goals, actually missed two of them in this game, which is unheard of. And not only did
one was super close too, wasn't it? Like 20 some yards or something. And you're just like, oh, he hit the goalpost. You're just like, what happened, man? Yeah.
It just shows, how windy it was. But it still was an exciting game, even though it was, I think, 3-0 or 3-3 at halftime. There was a huge defensive play by Taron Johnson, I believe is what his name was, picked off Lamar Jackson, who had never thrown an interception in the red zone in his career. This one went back to the house for the Bills. What a lot of people are saying is going to be, a franchise-defining play. And hopefully it's going to excel them to the Super Bowl and a win at the Super Bowl.
Yeah. I mean, my take on that game was that, the Bills, the offense was not in full firing mode for sure. But the defense just kind of took up, up the slack completely. I mean, it was just remarkable to see Lamar getting frustrated, blitz after blitz, pressure after pressure, 20-yard losses on, defensive rush and stuff. And it's just like, what do they say? Championships are won with defense, right? And that to me was an eye opener because I know how good the Bills offense is, but to see that the Bills defense came on like that just showed tremendous momentum. And I think that's really important going into these kinds of playoffs.
Yeah, especially at this point of the season too, because I mean, as much as the Bills as we cover, not only this year, but the last 3 years since Josh Allen has been in the league, the defense has been basically bailing out an underperforming offense. And then this year they have not been that good, but late into the regular season and now into the playoffs, they're just turning it up to a level which they should have been playing all year long, but it's super great to see, they're doing it when they should be doing it.
Well, yeah. And then I guess, so let's switching gears for a sec. On the other side, you had the Packers and the Rams. So that's kind of the inverse of what we just talked about, right? Yeah. I mean, the Rams just sort of laid an egg and just went, good night. I mean, Rodgers just had his time with those guys. And really the momentum, if we're talking about momentum as a theme here, I mean, the way that I see the Packers coming into this game with the Bills, with the Buccaneers, that's actually going to be a pretty interesting game, but we'll get to that in a second. But what were your thoughts about the Rams overall? Just kind of.
Yeah, this matchup was kind of the one in this round, which it didn't seem too dramatic on paper. And as the game has now been played, it was like what happened is what we expected to happen. The Rams beat the Seahawks the week before, division rival, actually my backyard team, because I'm out near Seattle. And so that was kind of a shocker. Seattle fans thought that they could beat the Rams, but the Rams bested them. And then it's like, okay, you move on to Green Bay. Like, good luck, especially with Jared Goff, who was nursing a thumb injury when he was playing Seattle, going out into Lambeau. You have to think, too, he plays in Los Angeles, not Wisconsin, in Green Bay. So it was a lot colder there than it was when they were practicing or when they normally practice in LA. So that was a big factor, too. And yeah, it was just Green Bay is a superior team, hands down.
Oh, hands down. Yeah. And it's funny, too, because I kind of had the same thought going into the Chiefs and the Browns game, too, thinking, the Chiefs are just going to wipe the floor. But, the Browns have been really consistent, and talk about, kind of a new chapter in that team's, history. The Chiefs were, at first just kind of, okay, here, this is going to be a 45-17 game or something like that. And then it just started to, the Browns, what's your take? What about that?
We've at the Deep Shot, we've been hating on the Browns since Odell Beckham Jr. went down, suffered a ACL injury, put him out for the season. And then every week they've been surprising us. And I think beating Pittsburgh in the week before and kind of shutting up what was a lot of people thought, undefeated up through 11 weeks, that they would be somewhat of a contender. They shut them up. That's a division rivalry. So they had that swag, whereas Kansas City, they're coming off a bye week, which is good. You get to nurse some injuries, and they're a great team as well. But I thought that it was going to be a close game, and I'm glad that it was. And it was dramatic. The Browns did what they had to do up until a point, but the Chiefs are just that much better. But big news, headlining. I know we'll get to the conference matchups, but Patrick Mahomes, he might not play against the Bills because he too suffered a concussion. Oh. It looked like a gnarly one too.
Wow. Yeah. Cause I was just looking that up right before we were getting on, and they were saying that he was practicing, but he was doing the protocol, and if you've ever had concussions or understand what that is, there are definitely varying severity levels of that whole thing. And they put you in the same protocol no matter where you're at on that score. It is your brain. You don't want to fuck with your brain. Right. So, yeah. But the thing about Mahomes, okay. So first of all, when I saw him hit the ground, I didn't think concussion at all. I didn't think anything was wrong with the guy. And then you watch him stand up, and he was just like, the birds were circling him. Yeah. And I'm like, oh shit. He had like one of those, cause my daughter, she had some in her sport, and it doesn't need to be like a full on like hit. It can be like a vibration. It can be, there's all kinds of variances of that. So I was just like, oh no, dude, he probably got one of those like transitory, like ones that like you can get from the side of your head that kind of vibrate into your, I was just the way that he hit the ground and stuff. And the way he got up, I was like, oh fuck, he's in for a big world of hurt if that thing is as serious as I think it was.
Yeah, and the NFL concussion protocols, that's kind of the one thing that they don't mess around in because of all of the press on how they've dealt with concussions and previous players with CTE, and they're only living to 50, 55, and they end up dying and they turn out to have this condition. So that's one thing. Even if Patrick Mahomes being arguably the face of the league, that's not one thing that they can just use that as a status to be like, well, he's Patrick Mahomes. Like, let's get him on the field. So
and he's young. It's not like, he's not like some of the older guys we're going to talk about in a second where, he's got plenty of runway in his career. But, Chad was like surprisingly good, dude. I couldn't believe that. I mean, that play at the end there, he didn't quite get the first down, but man, he just got really close enough. And it was like enough,
Yeah, he turned the Jets on. I actually had to ask my fellow co-host, Jeff, when we were watching this game, I was like, who's in for Kansas City right now? He's like, that's Chad Henne. I'm like, he's still playing?
Yeah.
He's
it's
near retirement. He's one of the old guys.
And it was so nuts just to see him like go for it and just like, he's got nothing to lose, right? I mean, the guy's a second tier guy or old, whatever. He's just like, fuck it, throw it, just go run, Like I was impressed. That's impressed. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, that's a good example of someone stepping up when they need to, especially when you're missing your patty daddy on the field.
Speaking of, so the Bucks and the Saints. Now, what was your initial thought about that game before we even talk about the game?
I was just curious if Tom Brady or Drew Brees were just going to collapse into dust.
Oh my gosh. So the meme patrol was just on fire on Twitter and everywhere. Just you probably saw the memes of them with the beards and being like, because it was all the young guys, obviously, in the games before, and then you got the old guys. Oh my gosh, that was pretty. I was kind of worried for those guys, actually.
I mean, anyone, that knows a game of football has to think that when these guys play. But I mean, they've proven throughout both of their careers that they are some of the best to ever do it. Fox had an absolutely brilliant pre-game promotion right before the game. They basically had this like this Senior Bowl matchup where it was this broadcast is going to be tailored towards the elderly because we had these elderly quarterbacks, relatively speaking, that were going to be playing in this game. And so that just set the tone. And
oh my God.
It was appropriate because it's looking like Drew Brees is going to hang it up. And it's unfortunate that he's doing it in a loss.
They were making a lot of hay about, him and Brady coming out on the field afterwards and Brady throwing the kid, a touchdown and all that. And there's this one picture of them together and they're like, yuck, whatever. And there's a great meme line that said, 7 rings between them.
Oh, 100%. I mean, when he was running off the field and it's like, this is pretty much it for Drew Brees. No one is going to question that this guy's going to get into the Hall of Fame. Even Drew Brees haters, I mean, we can flip the script on Tom Brady. I can't stand Tom Brady, but I recognize that he is one of the greatest sports athletes of all time when it comes to success. But granted, he's got 2 hands full of rings.
Yeah, exactly. His wife's wearing them now.
Yeah. His kids are probably too. They're probably just little toys.
Daddy, just put it over there. Yeah, a binky. Yeah, it's a nice little diamond sticking out. Oh my gosh. Yeah, that game. Okay, so on the game front there, I was like, oh, this is going to be a close one. And then of course the Saints, in their sort of typical fashion, just sort of opened it up. And like that flea flicker that they ran, I don't know if you saw that, but that thing was beautiful. Like it was so perfect and like way open. It was disgusting. And I was thinking, oh man, this is going to be, Brady's, downfall, is swan song for the season.
Yep.
And sure enough, that fucker knows how to win. Dude comes back. I don't know. Like you said, he's just one of the, I know you don't like him and we can talk more about this in the next block here, but probably one of the greatest of all time. You
got to respect it. I can't give much pushback there. If I did, I'd be a moron because it's like numbers don't lie.
Yeah, I mean, and he's teaming it up with Gronk. It's like the band's back together, dude. Yeah. It's just going to be so on that score. Now that they moved in advance and they're playing Green Bay, now that actually should be So it's interesting. All the young guys seem to have fallen off, but all the old dudes seem to still be around. Anyway, Rodgers, Brady. What do you think about that matchup for the conference? So we're moving on to the conferences here. What do you think about that game?
This will be kind of the 2 long-standing Titans in the league. Tom Brady, of course, that we just begrudgingly drooled over for a little bit, and then Aaron Rodgers, who's if Patrick Mahomes isn't going to win MVP, it's going to be Aaron Rodgers. So I think it's going to come down to these teams' defenses and how can you slow these guys down. Now, in the regular season, Tom Brady has shown signs of his age and has been bested by a core of younger guys who just know how to get in front of the ball. So can Green Bay do that? And then on the flip side, Aaron Rodgers and his entire offense is just absolutely on fire. And they move the ball like no other. Can Tampa Bay's defense slow them down? And I mean, they did it with the Saints. I mean, Drew Brees, there was 3 or 4 interceptions, the turnovers total, that basically sealed the deal for them. So it's going to be an emphasis on how those teams' defenses will perform, and then basically can those quarterbacks best the defenses?
Right. So I always go to like, okay, if they're playing at their best, they're optimal. Green Bay's offense versus Tampa Bay's defense. I'd say Green Bay beats the defense.
Yep.
Yeah. So it's like, and then on the flip side, Tampa Bay's offense versus Green Bay's defense. Who wins that one?
I still think it's the offense. So we could be looking at a 42-38 shootout, which would be super fun because there was a few close games that kind of went down close to the wire, more so to the Chiefs and Browns matchup. But if it's a shootout, everyone loves a high scoring football game.
Well, okay. So X factor, I think that, so Rodgers is awesome. Obviously he's won, he's been a winner for such a long time. I did see during the season, the line kind of feel like there were moments of lapse and laziness. I don't know if you ever picked up on that, where Rodgers was just like, what the fuck, guys, and he was, obviously, unable to complete a pass or something because the line gave up. So to me, that's an X factor. If those guys are like not hitting at all cylinders, I think it could be a really interesting game if the Buccaneers, with their momentum, come in and basically are blitzing all the time. Mm-hmm. I have that's just my take on that. Then on the flip side, dude, Brady, Gronk, I can't think of their wide receivers, but if he's on his game and he's hitting those guys and they're getting open, it doesn't matter what their Green Bay's defense is going to be like. He's going to pick them apart, mm-hmm. and that's going to potentially, on my feeling, is going to open it up. So what's your take? I mean, what do you think?
Well, the X factor that I want to see, going back to the position that I played in high school, I want to see what happens with the tight ends. You have Gronk, who former teammate of Brady's in New England, now down in Tampa Bay. He's over the hill. He said at the beginning of the season he was a blocking tight end. It's bullshit, but we always make fun of that here because it's like you're catching balls, you're still making good plays, even as old as you are, and how much stress you've put your body throughout your career. So it's kind of at that front, the old and the new, except at the tight end spot. So you have Rob Gronkowski for the Buccaneers, and then you have, I have to call him Bob Tonyan. I'd like to call him Rob Tonyan, but we ran a poll on the Deep Shot and our listener said that it's Bob Tonyan. So Bob Tonyan, the Green Bay tight end, young blood. It's his third year in the league. He had a few breakout games in the regular season, and it's always a good feeling when you're a favorite target of Aaron Rodgers, especially if Devontae Adams is getting locked down by corners or whatever's happening. Always look to the tight end. They're the most versatile position in football.
Yeah, no doubt. And that's an interesting idea. So with that, I mean, I think you're right though. It's going to be a high scoring game. I think it's 42, 45, something like that. I don't know.
Rack up the score. That's what I want to see.
It might break 100 between the two of them. Who knows? But okay. So on that score, as far as your favorite team, the Bills and the Chiefs, and now I think this game is going to be definitely one of the games to watch this weekend because, well, let's get your take first.
So I mentioned the Patrick Mahomes injury. He had the concussion. He had the birds flying around his head. Will he clear concussion protocol? Will he not? That remains to be seen. If he doesn't play, I think it changes the entire dynamic of the Chiefs offense. Even if Chad Henne gets in there and is a professional quarterback, he knows how to do his job. We saw that last week. It's just going to be a different game for that offense, and how hot the Buffalo defense is. I think that they'll have the upper edge. Now, if Patrick Mahomes does play, changes it completely, and you have to find out how to slow down one of the hottest and most electrifying offenses this year and last year. I mean, they're the reigning Super Bowl champions, so you can't discount them even if they're down Patrick Mahomes. They're still phenomenal players on the offensive end. Tyreek Hill, Travis Kelce, both shared. They had they were like both within the top 10 of receiving yards in the regular season. So you just have to have a guy that gets you that ball, and then you do the rest of the work.
Well, Kelsey's another one of those tight ends, right? Yep. I mean, So what is he, like 6'29"? I mean, the guy's huge. Like I saw a highlight just doing the research on this, and I was just like, oh yeah, that play. And he basically ran just a basic route. He went up and he cut cross field, and he just like it wasn't like bump and go. The guy like bumped him and like launched him and like literally threw him so far. And Kelsey is like, he's definitely a powerful guy. Let's just put it that way.
And he's a problem. I mentioned tight end's the most versatile position in football. Most tight ends are too fast for linebackers and too big for defensive backs. So they're always an X factor if you have one that's good enough. And I think Kelsey is, I see a lot of comparisons with him and kind of vintage Gronk, except he plays smarter. He realizes that his body is not forever. So he goes down when he needs to go down. But I mean, he's so electrifying to watch. So it'll be interesting to see what happens. And then on the flip side, the Bills offense taking on a pretty good Kansas City defense. And if you look at kind of the rankings of both teams, both are like 1 and 2 in offense, and both are like kind of middle of the pack with defense. So it's on paper, it's a absolutely crazy matchup. And of course, I'd love to see the Bills to win this game. That's what I'm rooting for. My bias is very much.
Yeah, I was gonna. Okay, so all things considered, if you can dismiss your bias for a second, Chiefs offense versus Bills defense.
And like I mentioned, like if Patrick Mahomes is playing, everyone part of Bills Mafia needs to be nervous because they're a problem.
What if he's playing, but he's still in that kind of, hey, he's fine. Yeah, right. You know what I mean?
Exactly. Then I mean,
that's a possibility too. I think.
Yeah.
Like they're going to say, oh, he's fine, and let's get him in there. He's better than Henny.
Yeah. We'll throw the kitchen sink at the guy. I mean, make him fear going out on the field. Make him ask Andy Reid, hey, maybe take this series off. I'm thinking it might be a good idea. Because it's all a mental game. And so, if the defense can show up and perform how they've been performing in the playoffs in the late end of the regular season, even for Patrick Mahomes, it could be a problem.
Okay. And then Bills offense and Chiefs defense. I kind of feel like, and I don't think this is the wrong way, that maybe the Chiefs offense beats the Bills defense, but the Bills offense, it's pretty close with the Chiefs defense.
Yeah,
I know that they win, but it's close. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
it's a little more even.
Both are good matchups. It really depends on Stephon Diggs. I think he's going to be the X factor. He's the Bills wide receiver. Broke the franchise record for receptions in the regular season. Just an absolute stud since coming over from Minnesota and being a Viking. He finds a way to get a ball, which it's like you have to wonder just as a casual fan. It's like, how is this guy catching the ball all the time? Like, wouldn't you put double coverage, maybe triple coverage in a zone on that? It's like, no, he creates the space and he catches balls. He grabs them and turns upfield. And so that mixed with Josh Allen and his mobility and arm strength. I mean, we could compare wideouts. It'd be Diggs on a deep ball from Josh Allen or Tyreek Hill on a deep ball from Patrick Mahomes. I mean, most of the time, if the ball is on point and it's not too windy, which this is in Kansas City, so I don't know what the weather report's going to be like. Most of the time, the receiver is going to come away with that catch, and then you have a 40 to 80 yard play.
Yeah, I think you're right. One thing I did notice, though, about the Chiefs when they played the Browns. So the Browns had their momentum, right, and it was looking pretty bad for the Chiefs. Like I almost thought at one point the Browns are going to come back and win that thing.
Yep.
But the thing that I liked about the Chiefs, and I think this is applicable for your guys' game, is that, if all things said and done, the Bills can make it look really super pretty. Those long passes, sharp shots down the middle to whoever's crossing through the zone, whatever. The Chiefs just kind of play a real basic, like screen, a lot of times, running, or they do a good alternation between running and passing, but they're not going for bombs. They're just going for those, first downs every single time. And I think when the pressure's on like that, there's towards the end of the game and you're down, there's this pressure to you got to make yards, but they're really comfortable in just getting to the next first down.
Yeah.
And And that to me is like, if you've got a drive and you've got a good minute and a half, those guys could potentially get down and score, every time. Just doing that philosophy by itself, which Henny can run. It doesn't have to be Mahomes to do that. Mm-hmm. So that's the kind of only X factor maybe that I'm contemplating there.
Yeah, I mean, similar to we're talking about with the Packers and the Bucks. I mean, both these teams can put up points, and they have throughout this season. So this could be a shootout as well. And I believe it was the beginning, the preseason or the off season. We remember preseason because of COVID, but the Josh Allen and Patrick Mahomes are kind of having a friendly jar off of like, I could throw the ball deeper than you. It's a question of who has the stronger arm. And so if we do get Patrick out on the field and because everyone looks at the quarterback matchup, those are the two names. It's one, center offensive piece against the other, and how are they going to duel it out playing against their respective opponents' defenses?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I totally agree with that. So listen, dude, I think this has been a really fun conversation. I love just handicapping all this stuff and being real speculative. Give everybody a real quick shout out about the deep shot. Are you guys going to be on this weekend live? Are you going to record and then post? Like, give everybody kind of the details about what you're doing.
Yep. So we recently did a transition for our live shows from Twitch over to YouTube. So that can be found on my page on YouTube on Chuck Sway. And that will be Monday evening, 6:00 Pacific time, 9 p.m. Buffalo. And then our episodes get uploaded. They stay on YouTube in the video format, and then they get uploaded basically anywhere you listen to podcasts. You can find it. Just search The Deep Shot.
Sweet. And we'll definitely be reposting when that happens. But Chuck, man, thanks for meeting up with me in the man cave here. I've got a little, I'm a little ahead of you, I think, as far as the booze factor. I guess you're going to go work out or something. I don't know, whatever that means. But
yeah, I'm going to go do my concussion protocol and pick up heavy object.
Yeah, there you go. All right, brother. Well, thanks very much. And look forward to seeing you on the rebound.
Yep. Thanks for having me.
See ya. Whoosh.